this
Elder.
thing, a secret plan.
That's not a secret plan. That's just an expensive plan.
Hey everyone, this is Curve and I bring you another standard match. Today I am actually going to be piloting one of the decks that I kind of just wanted to play around with for set 13. Of course, this is actually going to be Magnolia Elder as opposed to the Masks, which recently is just getting a promo as of the time of this recording. And I will be building that deck as well, and we'll see how good it is. But for now, I have actually been having a lot of fun with Magnolia Elder. It is a very fun deck. I don't think it's a very good deck, but I guess you can determine that off this game, because I am actually going to be going up against one of the big three, of course that being Youthberk here. So I am going to be going first, which is definitely a plus for me. It means that I get to be on grade 3 for their first full blast turn, and it does also mean that I can get to Elder just a little bit faster, although technically going second would be a little bit faster, but I would rather not think about that. Anyways, we do see the ride deck Friendship Fairy. This is an addition thanks to my deck tester, and I will say in this local tournament it really did not come up because I think I went first in every single game, but there are a lot of tools in the deck to facilitate kind of just having that easy access to the Friendship Fairy. It kind of makes it so that you only need to play one, and you don't really need to commit that much more deck space. It kind of just frees up 3 slots in the main deck. But of course, that does also come at the risk of you doing absolutely nothing when you ride into grade 2. Anyways, we see Youthberk getting its engine started, discarding that Carino for ride deck, for searching out the Gus, going to be putting it into the Soul most likely. Although, as I'm sure you should know by now, Carino can actually put any card from hand into Soul, but most of the time you're just going to put the thing that you searched. Using grade 1 Youth's skill to check the top 3 cards for that one Soul Blast. Going to be calling one card. Looks like we did actually hit a second Carino, which is of course going to let us get 2/3 of the way there. So my first game plan, which against Youthberk, is always pray that they don't hit their pieces, is slowly becoming less of a reality. So of course, that is completely dashed as we see the Fergosa coming on down, and then of course getting the final piece into the Soul. So Youthberk is all set up for its next grade 3 turn. The best I can do is bulk up and kind of just ensure that I can survive that first full blast turn, because I guess I can talk about how Magnolia is doing in this build. Magnolia surprisingly is a stall control deck right now, and you are going to be seeing exactly why that is, because it just does not have the same stay power as it used to. Anyways, Youth going to be swinging. Of course, we're going to be OT to passing that. Thankfully, not seeing a trigger off there, meaning that I can easily just take this 18k attack. We do see, of course, the main reason why we're playing this deck being the Stridefather Dragon, and I'm going to make a very questionable play here. I'm kind of just deciding what I want to discard from my hand, whether I want to discard this Florence or whether I want to discard this Magnolia Elder. I completely forgot about the first skill of the Stridefather Dragon, which you can see in my hand, which does allow you to actually draw a card. So honestly, I thought too much about that when there was one kind of obvious choice there, but as we'll see in this game, it is very difficult to discard that card, because that card is actually completely insane. It is just an insanely good card. It just is kind of bad because the only deck you can actually play it in is this one that you are seeing right here. Of course, I'm going to remember to put Goyaldo that I forgot to. That was supposed to go in ride phase, but, you know, it's the locals. Who cares? Of course, I am going to be... what I could have done is, if I had kept that Elder, I had discarded this, I could have called the Stridefather Dragon from the deck with the Forbidal. I'm going to Soul Blast and add back the Goyaldote. Of course, almost forgetting to reveal the Magnolia there, which, you know, is part of the cost. But essentially, this card is insane because it lets you take any grade 2 or greater card from your drop and add it to your hand. Now that's card, not unit, so you can add orders, you could add forbid all, you can add grade 4s, but we see the main game plan that I have when playing this deck, which is kill all their rears, and then if you can, damage deny them. If not, who cares? Just keep swinging at their face, make them use up resources. As we see the inlet going into that Fergosa, I'm going to make him use that counterblast if he wants to get it back. Although it doesn't matter because he already has it set up, so I just want to get it off board so he has less rears to be viable. Going to be calling down a 15k guard there, which is very cool, as I'm going to swing the Vanguard, hitting to a critical trigger and a draw trigger. So going to be pushing 2 more damage here, as well as giving an extra 20k to my back row rear guard, the Goyledote, who's going to be swinging for a nice 45 at the Vanguard. They did see a heal trigger, so they are going to be able to end this turn at just 4, as I use my Goyledote, and of course the inlet at the end phase to draw a total of 2 cards. So just bulking myself up for this full blast turn. I'm looking pretty good. I'm at 1 damage. I do have 1 rear guard that can get bot deck, but as you're going to be seeing, you might have seen it earlier, I'm playing a very silly tech that is very funny and is specifically for these situations. Looks like Youth is kind of just deciding what they want to discard. If we discard like any grade 3, we can just counterblast and get it back, kind of essentially just getting a free ride there. I guess, honestly, the only thing you would need is, like, good pieces, good call targets, good to be good rear guards, but looks like we are discarding that Persona Ride. We're riding into the Youthberk, and then, of course, just using the skill of Youthberk, the grade 2 Youth to counterblast 1, and then add it back to the hand, so just getting that free ride. We do have the option of using the Youth, which you honestly might want to do because, you know, field's looking a little scarce there, buddy. And you do want to have a full front row. Looks like we're discarding the Carino, checking the top 3, calling out the Sequana instead of the Cat, which is definitely understandable because, like, you know, if you don't have the Sequana, Sequana is a really good card. You have to make the decision, do I want to maybe gamble on getting a second Sequana off the top 5 again, and get more board presence, or do I want to kind of just guarantee it here? Of course, the Carino we discarded is going to let us get another card out of deck, making the deck that much more thinner and that much easier to hit pieces and triggers. Just putting the Tempest into the Soul. Calling out a Dolbrag, which is a very interesting card. Definitely still... you could theoretically use it, but you really don't want to. And anyways, we are going to see Ghost Chase being a very silly BT1 card. I feel like every single deck profile I make has to have a very silly BT1 card, as I am going to be also guarding with the Stoicheia Cat for a total of 25 against this 23 is going to be a 38, making it a 2 to pass. We see a critical trigger being flipped over here, and giving the power to the I forget which one. I think he split it odd where he, like, because that was a 2 to pass, I think he gave power to Vanguard and then critical to the rear guard, as we see this Quantum being used here to set the drive to 1, doing it correctly this time, and then of course using the full blast. And then of course, I'm sure you noticed it, that Ghost Chase totally countered the bot deck potential of full blast, so I just added a 15k shield and toolboxing back to my hand, as well as just getting a 5k shield and clearing my board. So Ghost Chase is a very funny card. I don't even know if you should be playing this deck, but it is very silly and it is very actually somewhat playable because remember, I have a grade 4 Magnolia in my hand, so it is also technically a 15k shield that I just added back to my hand. So right here I'm thinking I'm at 1. Do I want to risk just like taking this Vanguard swing, because I do have a PG in my hand, and I do want to at least have maybe 1 or 2 CB. One of the problems with the Magnolia deck right now, or at least this build, is that it uses basically no CB, so I guess that's a problem if that's something that matters to you. But I am going to opt to just take 2 PG it, which is perfectly fine because we see Elementaria, which is annoying because that's going to be totally free against me, and then another full blast. This Carino going to be a 23, swinging the Dolbrag for, I believe that's 35. No, I think actually I might be messing up with these numbers. I'd have to double check what we said in the recording. But anyways, let's get back into the game. Riding into my Magnolia Elder, using Goyledote to put itself in the soul, and then of course using Elder's skill to call it straight out. Checking my drop zone because I have access to my Stride Fodder Dragon, meaning that I can basically add anything from the drop zone to the hand. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of good targets right now. I could theoretically add the Ghost Chase back, which would be very funny shenanigans. But then I check my soul and realize, oh, there's an Inlet Pulse in there. So I'm just going to Soul Blast the Inlet Pulse and then just add the Inlet Pulse back to my hand, which is why the deck is actually not playing a lot of Inlet Pulse Dragons, because you have ways to recur it, to recycle it, and you really do not want to draw into it. We're going to be calling out a Florence here, which is very good in the deck, not because she's a good attacker, but mostly she's there as a mill. She's kind of, if you've ever played Light Sworns in Yu-Gi-Oh!, she's effectively there to be a Light Sworn in like another deck, like Light Sworn Shaddols were a thing, I think, and you just play them to mill other stuff. But Florence is here just to mill the deck to make things that much easier to get. And you see here my main game plan: take out the rears, swing face, and then kind of just tempo them out of the game by stalling as much as possible. We did see myself do something kind of interesting here, and a misplay. I had a second Stride Fodder Dragon in my hand, and I thought about committing it to get like my 6 attacks, but I think I'm just too much of a defensive player, so I just wanted to keep it in my hand to make sure that I had that 15k guard. But of course, as we saw, there's a Ghost Chase in the drop zone. So realistically, what I should have done is just call the Stride Fodder Dragon, add the Ghost Chase back, and I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm adding 5k shield to my hand, and if I need it, I can get that 15k shield back, because if I have 2 Stride Fodder Dragons, he can only bot deck one of them, and I can always just use it on maybe the first swing if I need to again. But this Goyodo is going to be powered up by double triggers yet again, being a 45k attack. And then, of course, Florence is also going to be getting extra power, even if he does get a defensive here. So that Goyodo is going to be PG'd there, and be using its skill to draw another card, and then using Florence to mill 2 cards, milling a heal trigger. Pretty unfortunate, but we do get an order, meaning that that is 2 non-normal units. So that's an extra 15k to Florence's power, almost forgetting 2 soul charge there, putting the inlet back into the soul and drawing another card, drawing into that MPEX. So I am looking actually pretty decent. I have a fat hand, and I am still at 3, so I have at least 2 damage of leeway. What I'm mostly worried about here is like a crit trigger, because I think I only have 1 PG in hand, so I am going to have to kind of just no guard this Vanguard. Or if he doesn't get a Sequana, it'd be that much easier to guard the Vanguard, just because I can guard for 23 and I don't really have to worry about much else after that. And there's also the fact that I've been taking out a lot of his rears, so it's at this point it's very probable that he's out of good rear guards to call, as we see this Fergosa just trying to dig some more, taking out the Full Blast, putting it back, and then Soul Blasting the Sequana to draw another card. I believe we discarded a Carino there to call the Fergosa, so we're going to be using that skill to deck thin once again, just adding the Full Blast. I think we already had one in hand from the last drive check, so not a huge deal, but it is still deck thinning, and deck thinning is going to make it just that much more of a pain in the ass to guard all of these attacks. But hopefully, if he ends up like just attacking like this, I have a very good chance of just winning here and now. He is also under Persona Ride, which makes things extremely more difficult. And it looks like we're just going to be putting a Persona Ride into the soul, which is interesting. I guess we just didn't have anything else. I can't quite see the hand. Is that... Okay, there's a Full Blast, and it looks like a suite full of triggers. Looks like we're calling out the Sequana, as well as that critical trigger. This is kind of Youthberk's last turn, I will admit, because he is at 5, and going into my next turn, I am going to be having 6 attacks most likely, so he is going to have to guard every single one of them unless he hits a heal trigger. But unfortunately here, he hits a critical trigger, which is terrible for me, and off the top, I see 0 defensives, so... I am quickly, still have a lot of shield value, but quickly that shield value is becoming not enough thanks to that front trigger and that extra critical trigger, just making it so that I can't even take a single point of damage from these last very big swings here. So with that critical trigger and Fergosa's extra 5k, I believe both these columns are sitting at the exact same number. The front trigger plus the 15 gives them an extra 35 onto their base 15 each. So that should be about 40-50 at the moment. Going to be PGing the Vanguard, checking the columns, because I do still have like 3 15k shields, a 10k shield, and a 5k shield, so I might have enough to actually guard it. So what I discard for PG here does actually matter. I'm doing just a bunch of calculations in my head. If I do, let's see, if I'd gotten a defensive trigger, this wouldn't be as difficult, because I could go 45, wait, that's 30, 40k shield, that's 50, Let's see. Why am I so... Oh, yeah, they're 50 now. So if I go 2 30k shields and a 40, that puts me at 53. So that would be a total of, you know, 60 or 53. But unfortunately, a front trigger here is going to make my day absolutely just terrible. So unfortunately, I decided that I was 5k short to guard both of these, but in the end it's not going to matter because both these columns are 60. My only chance really is a heal trigger here, and if I do get the heal trigger, then I have a pretty good play, but unfortunately that 6 damage is not going to be it. So that's going to be the end of the match. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this Magnolia deck in action. It's a very fun deck to play, but unfortunately I don't really foresee there being a lot of videos for it unless, I don't know, there's a lot of fan outcry. But I will see you guys in the next episode. Don't forget to do those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.